So, today we are going to learn how to use AWS Cloud properly. So, whenever a software developer is creating a new project or starting to work on an already existing project, there are a few questions that the developer, well, basically the whole team, needs to solve. And one of those questions is where to host the application, where to create a database, what domain name to select, and many, many more. Cloud providers are actually helping people to solve a large quantity of those problems. For example, they are providing a place to host the application, you can create a database in the cloud, and you can also purchase and host your application under some specific domain name. Those are the problems that we will be solving today. But apart of this, cloud providers are providing way more than just this. You can go to AWS account, click on the services, and you will see all the problems that the cloud provider is allowing you to solve using AWS. A part of the Amazon Web Services, one of the most popular ones, there are also Microsoft Azure, and there is also the Google Cloud Platform. This is the major trio, the three largest cloud providers in the world. And I must say that more than half of all the internet lives under the data centers of these three cloud providers. Right. So may I ask you, where are you hosting your MySQL databases at the moment?
DB for free.
Anyone else?
Local on my laptop.
Restart Your Life is using free MySQL hosting something page.
Right. Can I ask you, what is the experience using these databases?
DB for free is very slow when you try to enter it through PHP MyAdmin.
We have the same problem. It's too slow every time.
It drives
and
us
also
crazy.
it's only 200 megabytes is available.
Okay, so you have probably noticed already the downside of using the free hosting, right? You can use it, but it's extremely slow. It has a lot of limitations. It has a lot of, it's not nice to use, right? That's why AWS is providing the same functionality without those downsides for a reasonable price. I wouldn't say it's extremely cheap, but it is a reasonable price. So today, we actually need to build three things. Number one, we need a place where we will host our application. From the previous lesson, most probably you already remember that we were using EC2, Elastic Cloud 2 solution to create a virtual machine in the cloud and to put our Java code in there. A part of this, we will create a database in the cloud using the AWS console where we will host our data. For this, we will use RDS solution, which is Amazon Relational Database Service. And the third thing for today, we will create an Amazon S3 bucket, which is Simple Storage Service. This is the solution where you can upload and store your files. Those are images, videos, whatever it is, which you can use within your applications, right? While I will be creating this, I will be commenting how to create it and why. And we will start with the simplest one and the most used one. It is the Amazon EC2 solution, or a virtual machine. So a virtual machine is located in the service EC2, or you can go to the services and search for the EC2. Virtual servers in the cloud. When you go to this service, you will find that there are a lot of blocks, starting from the instances section up to the security groups, load balancing, auto-scaling, and so on and so forth. It is needed for multiple use cases, because apart of creating the virtual machine in the cloud, you must also provide access to it from the internet. You need sometimes create a load balancer to manage your load between multiple machines, in case if you have many customers and there is not enough resources at the single machine, so it will be distributed by multiple ones. There is also a lot of different storage solutions, or basically virtual hard drives where to store the information. And also there is a possibility to select different images with different Linux distributions you can use with your solution. But for today, we will go to the instances section. And as you can see, I already have one Amazon instance up and running, right? So I created this already before this lesson to make sure that we don't need to wait those 5 minutes until the virtual machine is created. So, but I will create another one. To create a new virtual machine, you can press on the Launch Instance block. After that, you need to select the proper Linux distribution you want to use. From the free versions that Amazon is offering, you can select Amazon Linux distribution, or also there are Red Hat, probably have heard of this name. Also there is the Ubuntu, and there are Windows machines, right? So you can create a virtual machine on completely different Linux or Windows distributions. But for today, we will use a simple Amazon Linux distribution. To create a new virtual machine, you need to select the proper Linux you want to build and press the select button. After that, you need to select the sizing, right? So the size of virtual machine, how many CPU or processor cores you want to have in the virtual machine, and how many gigabytes of memory you want to provide to the virtual machine. So apparently you might be asking, well, the more CPU and the more memory we are going to add to the virtual machine, the more expensive it will be, right? As you know, virtual machines are not for free. You need to pay for them. This is why you need to be reasonable how many virtual CPUs and memory you are adding. If you would be adding 400 CPU cores and 12,000 gigabytes of RAM, this virtual machine will cost you about 100 euros per hour, approximately. Or you can go to such thing like a billing dashboard, and inside the billing dashboard there is also a calculator where you can check how much it will cost, right? Is it clear so far?
Yes.
Okay, so for our lesson we will choose a simple T2 micro instance. It costs around 10 euros per month. So I'm selecting this one, making sure it is selected, and then pressing Review and Launch. As you can see here, you can find there is the selected instance type is T2 micro. There is one virtual CPU, 1 gigabyte of memory, and for our use case it's totally enough. For this virtual machine, only port 22 will be opened, and we can check the instance details. So what are the options, what is the role, what are the roles, and so on and so forth. A part of this we can check the storage that we will have around 8 gigabytes of hard drive, and also we can check the tags of the virtual machine. If everything is fine, we can press Launch button. At this point of time, we need to generate a new key pair to connect to the virtual machine, or to choose an existing key pair. As I have already created this password file, let's call it like this, I won't create a new one, and I will just I will use existing key for this virtual machine. And as you can see, now my virtual machine is launching, and in a few moments, second virtual machine will be accessible to me, right? Let's imagine that the virtual machine is already up. I am using the one that I have created during the day. For this virtual machine, we can see such specific information like IP address, which is the public IP address visible from the internet, private IP address, which is visible only from within the Amazon Web Services, state of the virtual machine, and what is really important is the domain name, right? Which is available here at the public IPv4 DNS address. By pressing this button, Open Address, a new link will be opened that will lead us to this address, EC2.371.91.126 EU Central Compute Amazon AWS, right? But as you can see, nothing is happening. The site cannot be reached. Why do you think it is like this? Any guesses?
Because we didn't put nothing to our virtual machine.
Yes, indeed. So what I will do, I will try to connect to this virtual machine using SSH, Secure Shell Protocol. So I'm pressing connect, which will connect me to this virtual machine. So pressing the button, and I will get a console, right? This is the Linux console where I can put some commands, right? Right. So what I need to do, I need to install something that will be, let's say, deployed on port 80, which is the default HTTP port. So what I will install is a simple HTTP server, which is really similar to Tomcat, that is used with Spring Boot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use sudo keyword, which is like asking please, kindly asking the Linux box with administrator rights to, I think it was yum install HTTPD. So I am trying to install HTTP server using yum package manager. This is really similar to npm or maven in Java world. So as you can see, HTTPD server was installed, and then I'm trying to launch the HTTPD service. Once again, sudo service HTTPD start. Launching the command, and it seems that it might be started. So let's check if the service is up and running. Service HTTPD status. So we are checking that the HTTP server is up and running, and you can see in green color it is stating that the server is active and it is running. So many of you knows that there is a possibility to use command line to get something from the internet without using browser, just from the terminal. This command is called wget, and I'm going to try to see if something is deployed on the local host port 80. I'm running the command, and as you can see, it is telling me that it is forbidden. So the request is there, but it is forbidden. Okay, it's better than nothing. So now when trying to open the address, the result will be the same. And maybe someone can tell me, didn't we forget something? So as you can see, it is still loading. It won't open the website.
They didn't put any code there?
No, there is a website. There is a website which will be available. But maybe someone remembers from the previous lesson when we were talking about AWS, about one additional activity we need to make to open the connection to EC2 instance. We need to make an opening in the firewall, right? Right. Because every AWS EC2 box is securely protected from everyone on the internet. Because we had a lesson about web security just on Saturday. And you should be remembering this, that by default, Amazon is protecting you from evil hackers. So they cannot access your website, just like they wanted. Instead, everything is protected until you explicitly allow someone to access your website publicly. To do that, you need to go to the security section of the instance, EC2 instance. You need to go to the security group. Here it is, security group. Let's open the security group and go to the inbound rules section, which tells from which IP addresses and from for which ports access is allowed, right? In this inbound rules, you need to press Edit Inbound Rules. As you can see, currently only SSH, the one that we have used on this page, to port 22 is allowed. So we will add another rule. And what do we want to open? Which port is the default HTTP port for every website? On which port do websites live? Does anyone know? Which port?
8080?
This is the Java website. This is the Java backend, but regular websites.
4200?
This is
I'm
Angular.
just now
this
counting
is
all of them.
Yeah, so for you to
And
know,
1990s.
it is port 80. Every regular HTTP traffic by default goes to port 80. You can build a custom TCP rule, or you can select the HTTP connection, right? You want to have and pass all the HTTP traffic, and then you will see the port. It is automatically selected as 80, right? And then you want to put the IP address from which access to this website will be allowed, right? So with this, you need to put the CIDR, which is the IP address block or a region of IP addresses to which you will allow access to your website. If you want to make it publicly available, which is definitely not secure, you just need to put this first block, 0.0.0.0/0, right? Which will allow completely all the IP addresses from the internet to access your virtual machine. So I will put this global one. So it means every person in the world will be able to access my website. I can select it per country or per internet provider as well. So I'm going to press Save the Rules, and as you can see, the rules were saved. After that, I will go once again to EC2 instances, go to my running instances, and will select the first one, right? The one that was created a bit earlier. And then, after that, by pressing Open Address, I really hope it will work now. So let me check, something is still missing. Because it's HTTPS, right? So I will try HTTP. And as you can see, when I change to HTTP or port 80, a test page was opened. Magic. Right? So these are 3 actions you need to do to actually publish your website on the web. Of course, this is not just the website. This is some test page, which anyways is located on the server. And this part lives in the directory called, okay, I need to open another connection. I will connect to this using the SSH. Just a second. So this website lives in the directory var www.html, and you can find okay, it doesn't live in the /var HTML for some reason, because I'm in the wrong virtual machine, it seems. Am I in the right one? No, I am in the right one. Anyways, let me search for the right file. So I will find where is the place. Okay, anyways, this is a regular HTML page that is stored somewhere on the disk. I cannot find it just immediately. Okay, from the billing, you have seen that previously there were the planned costs for the January were about $1. Now the forecast for January will be $3.57, right? So the forecast for January increased because I have created a new virtual machine. So this is something that is increasing as I am creating something. So this EC2 can be used to host HTML, CSS, Angular code, Java code. You can build whatever you want. Just consider this box to be a regular Linux virtual machine in the cloud, which has a public access by IP address and by domain name, the one that is mentioned here. Any questions so far?
Yes, the first question, why Linux, not Windows, is there a reason behind that?
Because Linux is free. It is open source and it is free.
Okay, I didn't notice that. And the second question, when you were in the command line, when you were trying to find the directory, you were trying to find on your computer, or is it on the virtual machine?
all of this box, this terminal, is the one connected to a virtual machine in the cloud under this IP address.
And the only way to view contents of the virtual machine is here. There are no browsers for.
No.
Okay.
Well, there is a way. For example, there is a way called WinSCP. This is something I have shown you as well. This is somehow. So let me show you. Let me drag it on this screen. So it looks like an old Total Commander application right here. So we can open a connection. So let me open a new session. And I will connect to the virtual machine from here. So I will copy the public DNS. Actually not this one, but actually yes, this one, public DNS. And we'll go to the virtual machine. I will create a new site with the host name like this. Port number is 22, the one that is opened. Username and password are not yet set, but we need to add, instead of the username and password, we need to add the certificate. And to find the certificate, how to add it? I need to find the key, and I need to find a way how to add. Here it is. I need to pass the access to my private key. And here is my PBK key. Opening it and pressing OK. And now without username and password, I will be able to log in. I will use a user EC2 user. And here it is. Here I am. So on the right side, I'm able to now go to the different directories and search it like this. Similarly, like in Windows. So there are browsers for the file system. But they are not as good as the native Windows browsers. Definitely no. Maybe some more questions.
Will this lesson be recorded? Or is it being recorded?
It is recorded, yes.
Thank you.
So, this is the place where you can host the application. In case if you want to build and deploy your Java application in the cloud on some address, there are some additional items you need to do. So I will open my IntelliJ IDEA to actually compile and package the application. So let's wait a couple of seconds while it loads, and I will compile one of my applications. I think I need to update my IntelliJ as well. So, let's say there is the portfolio and there is also the e-commerce application, right? So, still indexing. Let's wait a bit. So, we need to compile and package our e-commerce application, right? So, for you to know how that e-commerce application looks like, let me try to launch this as the Spring Boot project, right? I go to the Maven section on the right side, and I'm running Spring Boot run. Then you will see that the e-commerce application is kind of working, right? So this can be done on the right side, clicking Maven, plugins, Spring Boot, and Spring Boot run. Then it will compile everything, and then it will be running on port 8080. Or not. Why is it so? Port 8080 was already in use, of course. And let me stop it. Where is it? And here it is, stopping it. So as you can see, the port 8080 is already in use because I already have a Spring application up and running. And if there will be multiple of you who will be hosting the same Java application on one web server, then definitely there will be a clash between the applications. Only the first application that is launched will be able to run, right? Instead, what I will do, instead of trying to kill the other application, I will do it the right way. I will go to the source, name, resources, application properties, right? And what I am going to do here, I'm going to change the server port. Server.port equals 8081 and save it. And after that, I will run the application one more time. So why is it needed? Because I intend that I will provide you access to this virtual machine. So you do not need to register your own account and connect your own credit card there, right? For this course, I will take all the charges, all the potential charges, both for the virtual machine and the database. And I will just provide you the access rights. Okay, as you can see, the application has launched, and now it is running on the localhost port 8081. So opening localhost port 8081, enter. Of course there is nothing there. And now I will check in the controller what will be the proper endpoint for the Java controller. And it will be something like API orders. And there are no orders. So I'll try to do API products, like this. And as you can see, we are getting a list of the products of this e-commerce shop from my localhost 8081 API products. But this is happening only from my local machine, right? This is the localhost. I would like to deploy this application to the cloud, to the AWS. So the first thing I need to do, I need to package my application, right? So, for this, there are multiple ways how we can do this. First one is going to lifecycle and double-clicking on the package application, right? Otherwise, there is also under the jar section, there is the plugin called jar, and there is also under the Spring Boot a repackage block, right? So what I will do, I will just go to the lifecycle and double-click the package lifecycle, which will create a jar file where my website will be stored, right? It will also execute the tests. It compiles the application, it creates a jar file, and it puts the compiled jar file inside the target directory. I will wait a couple of seconds. Inside the target directory as this file, ecommerce-001 snapshot.jar, right? So this is my application stored as a jar file. So I will open this into the file editor. When I will find how to open this. Open in Explorer here too. So here is my e-commerce 001 snapshot.jar. This is my application now as a single file. Then I'm opening this WinSCP to actually move the files somewhere. And I'm going to go to home directory. I'm going to go to home, EC2 user. This is my user, because it's really important that you cannot write to any directory. You do not have the rights. And I drag and drop this file inside my home directory. As you can see, it is copying there, right? After that, I am going to my EC2 machine. As you can see, this connection is already dead because I wasn't on the tab for quite a long time. And I am connecting once again. Connect. So now I'm once again on the same Linux box, but I have moved file to my home directory. I can list all the files in my home directory by pressing ls command. And as you can see, here it is, my e-commerce 001 snapshot jar. Now, what I want to do is to launch my application on port 8081. Please remember, in our settings, we have changed the port where this will be executed to port 8081. So let's launch this application. I'm going to use the command java -jar e-commerce 001 snapshot, right? And Java is not installed. Perfect. So this command java -jar is really something similar to one that we have used into our security lesson when we were working with WebGoat and WebWolf, right? So right now we are missing the Java. So I'm going to install Java. I'm going to use the yum package manager sudo yum install Java. And here it is. Now it will be installed in a couple of seconds. And just a few more seconds. So as you can see, it is installing Java 17 Amazon Corretto, the one that we were using. Okay. Java is installed, and now we have Java Amazon Corretto version. And now, when it is installed, I can run it using the java -jar e-commerce 001 snapshot jar and pressing enter. As you can see, a Spring application is starting on my server, and in a couple of seconds it will be available to us on port 8081. And now it is available. Okay, this is port 8081. What should I do here on the instance block? Can anyone tell me? Similarly, what we did for the regular web server, for port 80.
We need to add this port and security group, yes?
Correctly. This is the thing we need to do to allow access from public internet to this port. So we are going to the inbound rules. We are going to the security groups. We are pressing the edit inbound rules block, and we are adding a new custom TCP to port. What is the number of the port? Does anyone? Exactly. And we are allowing it from the public internet for everyone, right? And we are saving the rules. When this is done, everyone in the world accessing this address, http ec2 371 blah blah blah, port 8081 /API/ products will get the list of products, right? And I will paste it to you So you can see that by this address, also you will get the list of products. You can open and check. So, was it complicated? 3 simple steps. Create virtual machine. Open access in the security groups. Deploy what you want.
Silly question, but by the way, we can add the jar file not only using this additional browser, but just from the Linux console, yes?
From the Linux console, there is no way how you can drag and drop files here. So, how can you do it? You can put the file somewhere online, like you are always saying to filein.lv. And you can use a command to download the file, yes, but you cannot drag and drop it from your computer to Amazon box. That's why this tool WinSCP is usually used for this.
Can you also use Google Drive?
I am not sure. No. So for those of you who knows what FTP is, FTP server, this is really similar approach. Those of you who still remember what a DC++ file exchange is, it is extremely similar. Those of you who remembers what torrents are, this approach is really similar. There is a tool that allows you to exchange files between 2 systems, your local one and a remote, right? And for this, usually this tool, WinSCP, is used commercially.
Is FileZilla something similar, or
It
is
is.
it?
It is the same, so you can use FileZilla as well as an alternative. FileZilla or WinSCP, those are the tools you should be using. I'm showing you just one, because if there is a choice of 2, then you will always stumble upon which one to choose. WinSCP, good enough. If you know how to use FileZilla, it is the same. This is just another tool, right? So we have this this Java up and running, right? Right. But we want to connect to the database as well, right? So we want to create a database. So let's try to open another service, RDS. Before we go there, we are finishing this block about EC2 servers. This is most of the things you need to know about EC2 service. How to create an instance, how to launch the instance, how to connect to it using SSH, and how to connect to it using WinSCP. Right? Right. Let's go to the next service, which is called RDS, or Relational Database Service. This is once again an Amazon Web Services provided service that allows you to create different databases in the cloud. Those of you who have used database for free Mysql hosting, some kind of other similar solutions, are already similar to it, right? For me, you can see that I have one database already up and running. The name of it is database 1. Currently, it is available on AWS, and currently there are 0 connections to it. But let's show you how to create completely new and fresh database, right? It will be more interesting to you than looking at the existing one. there is a huge orange button called Create Database, and this is the one you need to press. When you press Create Database, there are multiple database engines. Please remember course number 1. There are different databases, and every database is specifically good at something. So there is Mysql, there is MariaDB, there is the Microsoft SQL Server, there is the huge and large Oracle, there is the Postgres database. So I will create a MySQL database, right? And I will use the version that is provided here as 8.0.23, which is the current one. I am selecting the free tier, right? That makes sure that this application, MySQL database, is not utilizing any resources, so it will be for free. The name of the database will be database2. The credentials settings, I will write some kind of the master username. So consider this to be the main administrator of the database, or the root. I will call the user Artiman. About the password, I will use some kind of the very secure password you will never guess. Oh no, I'm not writing. So, extremely secure password, right? Which does not match. So, do they match now? Yes, they match now. After that, we select the database instance class as burstable classes, which is the only one available for the free tier. We will have one virtual CPU and 1 GB of RAM, which is the only one available for free, so this is not a lot. And as the storage, we will have only 20 GB available to us, right? So this is as much space we will be using. So, when this is done, there is the connectivity, and there is the question, do we want to have the public access? This one is important. Public access means that your application can be located outside of AWS. So means that you can connect from your local machine to the remote database. Or you can connect from your application that is located somewhere else, not on Amazon. Let's say on the Microsoft or somewhere else. So I am setting yes. I want it to be available outside of the Amazon. As for the security group, I will select an existing one, which is the default virtual private connection, and no preference for the availability zone. The authentication for the database will be happening using the passwords, the one that I have set on the top. And on the bottom, you will see the estimated monthly costs. As we have selected the free tier for the Amazon RDS, we will be using this database for free, completely for free, for at least 12 months, right? And when this is done, we are pressing the button Create Database. And as you can see, now it is being created. So when it is created, we will see the credential details on the top and the address. So it takes a few minutes to create the database. But meanwhile, I will not be using Workbench because there are simpler tools than this. So I will be using a solution called Adminer. I'm using Docker to launch it. And I'm going just to use a command, docker compose up, to launch the Adminer. Adminer is a simple web. Okay. Now it has issues with this one. So I need to stop my application. So Adminer is basically a web application that will allow me to connect to my database from the browser. So it is still creating. Yes, it takes a while. Meanwhile, I will open localhost 8081. So adminer is extremely simple. Really, really, really simple. Database stuff. Okay, I think it is now created. No, not yet. There is still no endpoint. I will connect to the previously created database. But as you can see, it is a bit faster than the free solutions. At least it should be. Even though this one is also for free. For 12 months. So, yeah, it is still creating, so I will connect to my other database that I have created today. So this database is called database 1. So this database will have, when it is created, a connection string. Here it is, an endpoint, right? So I'm copying this endpoint, going to workbench phpmyadmin.com, selecting that I want to connect to MySQL database, putting the server that I have copied from here, from the endpoint, as the username. I'm entering my secure password. I don't need to enter the database, and I can press login. And what I can see here, that I have connected to my database.
Artem, you were connected.
So I was disconnected, right?
Yes, for a while.
Okay, for a while. Right, what is the last thing you have heard? This is why it is good when I see the video of you, because otherwise I have no idea whether you can hear me, you cannot hear me, or am I lost or not. So
We don't know how you get here. We didn't see it.
okay, you didn't see it. Okay, I will log out. This is something you can use. You can use phpMyAdmin, you can use adminer, you can use workbench, whatever tool you want. Right? I can open the phpMyAdmin online. So I'm opening the phpMyAdmin. Probably this is something you know better, right? Am I right? So I'm copying the same endpoint right here in phpMyAdmin. I'm using my username that I have just created and my password. My extremely secure password, matching that I'm not a robot, and connecting. Right? So this is the same as here. This is my local adminer. This is also a tool that I am using for connecting to my databases. Pressing enter, connecting, and as you can see, I am inside the database. The same as in phpMyAdmin. And there are all the databases, right? So if I want to create a new database in here on this server, I'm just pressing on the databases, naming the database team2, selecting the collation, that should be UTF-8 bin. That is the UTF-8. Here it is. UTF-8 bin and creating. And here it is. In a couple of seconds, the database team2 has created. That's it. So was it complicated on creating the database? I think no. The only thing about the databases is that I didn't have shown yet, that there are the same security groups, right? So here is the same security groups, and when you press that, you need to select the inbound rules. So in this security group, you need to check the inbound rules and to make sure that your port 3306 is opened, right? And then you will be able to connect to this database from phpMyAdmin using the username and password, or you will be also able to connect to this database from your Spring application using the credentials. So inside the database, you go to the privileges, you create application user, because it is bad practice to use the admin user to connect. Instead, you are creating new user account. Let it be, let's say, team2 for the database team2. Right, am I on the database? So usually what you're doing, you're providing access to one specific database. In this case, I'm going to provide to database team2 privileges to access and create tables and to insert anything. So here I'm creating a new user, calling it the same as the database, team2, from any host with some strong password. And that's it. I'm granting all privileges on this database. I am providing all the access to the data and structure, right? And basically, this is it. After that, I'm pressing go. As you can see, it is very strong. The password is extremely strong. And for some reason, I cannot provide. Let me double check. Okay. It is there. So as you can see, for some reason, it just crashed a bit. So as you can see, the team2 is also created and you can log in to phpMyAdmin also using this second user, right? I will log out and I will try to log in to this server also using this team2 user using newly generated password. I'm not a robot, connecting. It will take a while and then you will be connected. As you can see, you're connected to your database. Okay. It seems I didn't provide you access rights to this user somehow. Okay, maybe there are some questions about these activities.
So you will create 7 different users for each team. Yes?
Yes, I will. I will create 7 users and 7 databases and provide to every team, whether you will need it or not. It will be available until the end of month.
Okay, but what about the AWS account? We will use also the single account what you have created.
Yes.
But what about how to connect to this account?
I will provide you
That's it.
About AWS. This is the thing. If we are going to use one shared account, there will be a problem because by default all of your applications are running on the same ports. Angular is running on port 4200 and Spring Boot is running on port 8080. What I will ask you to do in general channel to select which port you will be using on the server between 8080 and 8090. So please write team's name and enter the port address 8081, 8082, 8083 and so on and so forth. The same for Angular. if you need it, then please select the port 4201, 4202, and so on and so forth, up to 4207. So port 8080 is already taken by me. So select the port from 8081 to 8087. And if you need Angular, then from 4201 up to 4207, right? And write it in the general channel. I will help you deploying it. So from you, I will ask for the following things: a jar file that will be running on the port number that you have entered, right? A jar file, single jar file, nothing more. For Angular code, those of you who has Angular, I need an application, a build application. Yes, I need a build application. So instead of ng-serve, I need you to run ng-build, right? And I need you to provide me a zip archive with the compiled sources, right? I won't build it instead of you. I won't run npm install. I want you to send me the files that will be working. So please use the build command and pass me only the target. Then I will put it on the server. Is it clear?
So we are not supposed to put our jar files ourselves.
If you want to create your own account, then yes. If you're afraid to create your AWS account, don't know for what reason, then if you're afraid to give them your own credit card, then I can do it myself. Better would be if you create it yourselves. It would be way better. If you say I am not giving my credit card to Amazon, this is totally fine by me, because I'm also not trusting them fully. Then I can put it myself and put it on my own account.
So you're going to do the most of the work. Yeah.
I am not going to do the most of the work.
What I mean is that we will have the tag. We will be saying we deployed it on cloud, but actually you did that part of work, and it will be true.
This is why I suggest you to do it yourselves. Don't make me do it. Worst case scenario, I can do it instead of you. But this is the worst case scenario. Only if you do not want to register a new account on Amazon, providing your credit card. Right?
And why don't you trust them fully?
Well, why don't trust them fully? Because they have my credit card information. I trust no one who has my credit card.
But do they have it like in a different way than any web store has?
The same.
Okay.
I don't trust any web store who is asking my credit card. That's why I'm registering and using only my Revolut card when using online groceries or stuff. But that's me. Okay, so if you need my help, then please reserve some time for this today or on Wednesday, and we will be doing this during that time. I expect only one web jar file running on the port that you will put on the general channel, and the port that you will be putting on the general channel for Angular if you need it. Otherwise, feel free to do it yourselves. Okay? Okay. Any more questions? This is all I wanted to say about the AWS. Those are two services that you will need. I think no one will be using S3 storage.
So we are going to learn all of this anyway at Accenture, right?
Right. You will.
Okay.
And yeah, when you will be joining Accenture, you will have to create your own AWS account. Sorry. Earlier or later, you will create one.
So there's no point in escaping it now?
Well, there is no point. You will have to create it anyways.
Okay.
So, any questions about the topic, about AWS?
So you said that you will not create this S3 bucket, yes? But
No.
probably Restart Your Love will need it. So that is why I'm starting to think create our own account, maybe.
For S3 buckets, there is a specific API you cannot just write there as inside the directory. You need to use an S3 connector to write files there. Simpler approach would be to use a regular file uploads, right? Which will upload the files directly to the web server, to EC2, right? So it is possible to upload the files directly to EC2 instance, but the downside of this is that it has only 8 gigabytes, right, of space. So this EC2 instance that I have created has only 8 gigs of disk drive. So if I go to the volumes, you will see there is the disk created, which is 8 gigabytes large, connected to my virtual machine. And this one does not require any additional APIs. You are just uploading the files using the regular Spring Boot application. If it will be running locally, it will be also running on your machine, on AWS machine. I'm suggesting you the simpler approach because I wouldn't be learning S3 in the last week before the final project. So, any more questions?